Hello and welcome to Kody and Korbin have a podcast, the show where two former roommates
And they were
talk about a new movie every week. This week on the show, we're talking about Top Gun.
I'm going to send you up against the best. Yes, sir. You two characters are going to Top Gun.
I feel the need for speed.
For 5 weeks, you're going to fly against the best fighter pilots in the world.
You guys really are cowboys.
I don't like you because you're unsafe.
That's right.
I am dangerous.
The wild card flies by the seat of his pants.
I guess when I see something, I go right after it.
It takes a lot more than just fancy flying.
Film in this school is about combat. There are no points for second place. Figured it out yet? What's that? Who's the best pilot? No, I think I can figure that one out on my own.
I'm your host, Korbin Zvokel, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the Spider. Would that be your call sign, Kody? Probably. Spider. Kody Webb. Kody, how are you doing?
Yeah, Spider checking in. I think it's gonna be a great episode. Very excited to be here. But yeah, that's about it. What would your call name be? Glasses? I got
I'm not sure. In like 7th grade, a sex ed teacher once gave me the nickname Dr. Z.
You mean health teacher? Do you have specifically a sex ed teacher?
Yeah, she was like a lady. She came in for 1 week to talk sex ed. She was like a traveling teacher, and she asked for my last name, and I told her, and she said, "Well, that's not gonna work." She's like, "What do you want to be?" And I said, "A doctor." And she said, "All right, well, you're gonna be Dr. Z." And then for about a year, it was kind of like it was definitely wasn't a cool thing. It was people would say it.
It sounds pretty cool to me. I don't know, but okay. Out of doctors,
I could be the doctor.
Spider, who's the pilot here?
Hey, I have flown a plane, so I do have more experience.
I'll definitely fly. There's no chance.
We've both wrecked our cars before. Mine was a little bit worse. So
that's true. I'm a great driver, actually. I always tell everybody I should have been a race car driver. Maybe not, fighter pilot yet, but I trust Big Spider behind the wheel instead of Big Z. But that's just me.
Yeah, but then you got to trust me to call stuff out, and I don't know if that's any better. My eyesight.
That's where the glasses come in.
They're not putting me behind a plane. Let's be real honest. This feels a little weird. We haven't done an episode just talking about a movie by ourselves in a while. I mean, it's been over a month.
Yeah.
So we're a little rusty, but we're back into it. It is June. It is Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. And something I wanted to do just for these June episodes is maybe recommend some LGBTQ plus movies. I'm going to start with two kind of probably pretty well-known ones, just to kind of start us off on an easy note, and then maybe we can, expand. I'm going to be trying to watch some more films as well, just to kind of expand my horizons. And I want to kind of recommend some things as we go along, but I'm going to start with two pretty well-known ones. Obviously Moonlight. That's the classic. That's the probably the most well-known film in the genre. Fantastic film. We've talked about it on the podcast before. Really does a great job of dealing with intersectionality beyond just, the issues of a gay man, but the issues of a gay Black man in the Southern United States, dealing with, the problems of being, both those things at the same time. And then on top of that, another one we've talked about on the pod, Booksmart, fantastic film about two, young women, obviously one of them being a lesbian. So those are my two recs, and we'll hit you with two every week of just kind of stuff to watch, and I'm excited to share those. Let's get into it.
Those are two of my favorites as well. You kind of stole my recs, but
well, yeah.
Great
We went for the obvious ones first, and we'll have to dig into the bag a little bit. Why did I pick this movie?
Why?
Top Gun. I mean,
it is your pick.
It was my pick. We were hoping to have a guest. Some things didn't work out scheduling wise. Probably have a guest next week, but I figured
Relevancy.
It's relevant, right? We're kind of just riding the coattails of Tom Cruise and his $800 million or whatever Top Gun Maverick has made so far. So maybe we can just scrape a little bit of that change out of the bottom of the barrel and get in on the Top Gun. But of course, Kody, you haven't seen this movie. This is kind of a classic. I didn't want to do the whole, let's review Maverick. Let's talk about the OG. Let's get into it. Initial thoughts.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I mean, Kody, this was your first time seeing the movie. I want to start with a question. Did you know that Goose dies?
I'll tell you what, I did not know that. and it came to quite a shock. But I'll talk about that a little bit later in some other categories. But God, I could not believe they killed Goose off. Utter shock. But yeah, like you said, this is my first time seeing it, and I feel like it is a bit of a classic. Maybe that's throwing the word around a little bit too easily, but like a cultural classic more than anything else. I know, like, my mom was a massive fan of this movie, and I've heard the soundtrack like over and over and over again. So, as everybody knows, it's everywhere. But on this first viewing, I wouldn't say I was underwhelmed, but it's okay. It's not terrible. I don't think this movie was made specifically for me, which is fair, and it was also made in the '80s, which was a long time ago, which is also fair. But it is a lot of dumb fun, which I'm a big fan of historically. Obviously, Fast Five, National Treasure, all that good stuff. So I can grasp the dumb fun, but overall, I would say my experience was okay. I think my rating, you'll see what I mean by that. But I mean, in general, I'm just rambling on here. But in general, I think this is clearly just military propaganda, which I don't have any problem with because it's pretty fucking cool to look at. And as well, like, there's a lot of dudes in this movie. There's just dudes. So I respect it. Great cast. Really cool. Like,
it's a guys. I mean, this is a guys movie. That's what it's about. It's about the boys.
It's a lot of dudes out here. But overall, it is fun. I did enjoy watching it, and I probably would rewatch it. What are your initial thoughts?
I second kind of everything you said. For me, this wasn't my first time watching the film, but I did watch it for the first time like a week ago. So okay. I think I'm Top Gunned out at this point. I've seen this movie twice in the last couple of weeks, and then of course Maverick. But I agree that it is kind of just average a little bit. It kind of stands in the middle. There's some really good parts. There's some kind of just stuff. It's 80s. There's a lot of 80s-ness to it, right? There's a lot of guys being dudes, like you said. The soundtrack is amazing. You get Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins, which is obviously an all-time classic. It's
so good. Yeah.
More people have heard that song than have seen this movie, obviously. Like it's transcended it. And then, Take My Breath Away as well is, for the love story in this, the B story, it is a great theme as well. Tom Cruise, terrible singer though. I will say that. Don't put that dude behind the mic because it's evident in this film. And all in all, it's very campy. It's like campy propaganda. And I have a little bit more to talk about the propaganda as we get into it, but that's just kind of my initial thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The thing is, it knows it's propaganda, and it does it in like the most 80s way possible. I think that it does get it past in that sense.
Yeah, and it's kind of at a time, post-Vietnam, post-Korea, like you've got like the Cold War implications that are happening obviously here, but it doesn't like go in one. It does, it never outright says, "Hey, we're fighting the Russians" or "we're fighting anybody." And the new movie does the same thing actually. And I think throughout I'm going to continue to kind of draw some comparisons between the two as we point things out. But there's a very clear, like, the MiGs are assumed to be some sort of Russian owned, whether it's the Soviets or some part of the USSR, specific, one of the outlying countries that is no longer Russia today.
Yugoslavia.
I don't know. It's very in the middle, right?
Yeah, I agree. And going
it tries
forward,
not to offend too many people, I think is what it does.
Oh yeah, other than Soviets, but who cares about them?
Right.
But yeah, going forward, I don't want any, Top Gun Maverick spoilers as well. I haven't seen it. Evidently, it's the greatest film of all time. I don't even know who Miles Teller's play, so don't spoil that for me either. But
you don't know who Miles Teller plays?
No, I'm joking. Obviously, it's Goose's kid.
Goose's son, yeah.
Yeah. But
I will not spoil the movie, but I will share some kind of things that I think maybe it does better and why I think it's more successful as we go through.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's kind of just mid-tier stuff here, but I'm sure we'll get into it a lot more.
It's very understandable why it kind of is a classic and why it kind of stands out. Obviously, a huge part of that is Tom Cruise at its center, and it's a huge part of the new movie as well. At the time, this kind of launched his career a little bit, but looking back, now he's one of the last true movie stars that we have. So it's kind of cool to see his beginning. Let's move over to roll credits.
Roll credits.
Cody, what do you got for this?
Yeah, for roll credits this week, I did want to shout out the title. This is I think top tier title quality, if I'm being honest. Super simple, super relatable, very iconic. Top Gun. I mean, it doesn't get much more badass than that, I don't think. But it doesn't really make sense. Just kind of because I guess if you're the top plane or whatever, you have what you would call the Top Gun. Is that even what that means?
Well, if you remember, the movie opens with this black screen with white text over it.
I did read that.
Yeah. So on March 3rd, 1969, the United States Navy established an elite school for the top 1% of its pilots. The purpose was to teach the lost art of aerial combat and to ensure the handful of men who graduated were the best fighter pilots in the world. They succeeded. Today, the Navy calls it blank. The flyers call it Top Gun. Now, I don't want to reveal what they call it because that might be a trivia question later on. But
what does the Navy call it?
It's my trivia later.
I'm not gonna get that right.
Okay, well, since you're not gonna get it, and I have other questions, we'll say today the Navy calls it Fighter Weapons School. The flyers call it Top Gun. So it's the name of the school they're at. This essentially is why it's
Top Gun is a very much cooler name than whatever you just said there. So fair enough. But yeah, I think the title's great, and I think it's one of the reasons it's like stood the test of time, like in iconicness. That's the word. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had. The opening is super interesting, obviously, with the Kenny Loggins rolling with the B-roll footage. And
yeah, they do something that you don't really see now because I guess maybe it's an attention span thing a little bit with modern movie audiences, but you don't get a big like opening title like long. Okay, we're just gonna play a song and you're gonna see these fighter jets take off and we're gonna show you who made this movie in a very slow and deliberate way.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. It's a beautiful shot that you got the sun and
I like it, honestly. Yeah.
It's fun. It drones on a little bit and there's a reason why it doesn't happen a ton. I thought the ending was cool too as well because you get again, probably the very 80s thing. It's like, we're going to show you all the cast with their faces and then their call sign and then their name. And it's like, it's fun. But it's very 80s and very campy. And it's like, of course, this is how we're going to do the closing credits.
Yeah. I love that shit though. I mean, we talked about it in The Martian. They do something similar and I'm a massive fan. But also, I forgot to mention in opening initial thoughts, dude, the call signs are so cool. I don't know why, but usually when I watch a movie, I can't even remember half the characters' names. I know basically everyone's call sign in this movie. So props to whoever came up with those.
Well, we'll test that when we get to trivia.
I talked too early. I should have said that. Tough.
Anything else for roll credits, Kody?
That's all I had.
All right, let's move on to the stupidest part.
You stupid.
I'll get us started for us.
Go for it.
Going back to the propaganda thing, I think that's something you can kind of identify as a stupid part. And it's important to realize that when you have movies like this, or really any movie that uses American military equipment, resources, whether it's people, boats, planes, the military then has a little bit of say in how they are portrayed in the film. So it's just a fact that the Army, the Navy in this case, would never be like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you a battleship and a ton of planes, and while you're still playing
an aircraft carrier,
like, we're not gonna give you an aircraft carrier if this is something that doesn't make us at least look somewhat good. And it did make them look good. The Navy increased the number of people that were joining after this movie came out. It is a little bit of propaganda, and the fact is, when you see a Marvel movie today, it's the same thing. Like, there's not a fleet of private military equipment that is just available for Hollywood to use. When Hollywood shoots with military equipment, it is from the real active military. It's obviously not on site in these areas, but it's their equipment and they do have a little bit of, creative yes, no in these cases. So it's important when you see, I thought a lot about, and there's a lot of talk of it in, Captain America, Falcon and the Winter Soldier in that show. And like at the beginning of it, it's like, this is a little bit of military propaganda here. That's kind of what the first episode was a little bit. He's like, oh, he's just serving with the military. And from a personal political standpoint, I don't necessarily love that, but like you said, it is sick. So, if you get a good story out of it and, then I guess maybe I'm okay. I do want to point out the production
Did we get a good story, but okay.
Well, with the new one, we get a new story. The production paid the military $1.8 million. This included the use of the real pilots, and those pilots cost $7,600 an hour to have them flying around, which is crazy. And that's obviously $1.8 million in 1986.
Yeah. fair enough. They went to town on the budget, but yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Excuse me. Obviously, it's just massive Navy propaganda. You know, glad it worked out for them, I guess, but it is what it is. But yeah, your mention of it gave us a good story, gave me a little bit of a chuckle because there's a lot of things I got issues with. First off, I did want to throw it back to your initial question about my boy Goose. I'll tell you what, man, this was an absolute shock. Goose was by far my favorite character throughout the movie.
He's the best.
And then he just dies, which sucks because, you know, he's got a wife, he's got a kid, whatever. My dumb part related to that is like 5 minutes after, Tom Cruise is just, you know, chilling in the bathroom, thinking about his boy Goose. And Viper just comes in. he's like, Goose is dead. And Tom Cruise is like, I know. He's like, you got to let go of him. Like, dude, he died like a half hour ago.
Well, I guess there's maybe the assumption that like he's waiting at a hospital and like there's a chance he thinks and then like he comes in. Yeah. Well, he's at the Naval Academy and they have probably an infirmary on site. They're taking care of him. Goose has passed away. Like, you know, it's not confirmed up until that point. I don't know. They leave it open.
Stupid.
Hey, think about this. Think about how many times, if it's not confirmed, you never know. Somebody could be still alive. You got to hold out hope.
I wish it wasn't confirmed, so then Goose could come back for the sequel. But tough stuff. I do have a couple other plot points I did want to touch on. First off, just, you know, the PG-13 sexual chemistry I thought was a very strange choice. It's kind of
quite a sex scene.
Yeah, the sex scene, you know, interesting how they shot it and everything, but I was not a big fan. Anyways, basically they just like keep staring at each other, and then they like get a little bit closer. Then Tom Cruise just runs away. So you know, I don't know if that move like worked in real life. Maybe I should try that. But it is Tom Cruise, but I don't think I'm gonna be stealing his moves from this movie.
Yeah, I think the romance as a whole is a bit contrived, and obviously you have to have it, right? Like, what's the beat? That's what they do, right? It's an 80s movie about the military. He's got to have the, you know, beautiful young woman by his side. There's a particular sequence in their relationship that you're kind of talking about where he like runs away and then like comes back. So they're there at the house and they have the discussion and the lunch or whatever. And then there's the elevator scene, which is obviously
great scene, very
interesting. And then right after that, which is like the elevator scene makes it seem like they're okay. And then right after that, they get like, she's basically calling him out in training. And then he like is all pissed off. And then she like chases after him. And I just didn't want anyone to know I was falling for you. And then then get the ridiculous sex scene right after that. I don't love that sequence. I will say the elevator scene does make it better as a whole. And an interesting fact is that they did shoot that later in post. So when they had put the movie together, they didn't have that originally. And the reason she's wearing that like cap is because her hair was a different color, and Tom Cruise's hair is a little bit longer even in the scene. So they felt that they needed to add it. It's an interesting scene, but
yeah,
it was probably needed.
Not a great scene either way, but it was probably necessary. And I did want to throw it back as well to their first interaction at the bar. Thought it was a little stalkerish of
dude. Hey, following women into bathrooms is not. We do not.
Don't recommend that.
Support that.
So Tommy Boy, he's got his interesting moves, but yeah, I didn't even notice. I noticed the hat obviously, which is different, but that really makes a lot of sense that was like a reshoot. So that's funny. I would say that scene's definitely necessary, because if not, you're just going from like her house,
them being completely split up to
them, like being in love. So
yeah,
obviously it's pretty quick to, you know, be like, oh, I'm falling for you after like, you know, a week or whatever. But you know, movies. And I did have one other thing too. You said that the love story was the B plot. I don't even know if that's true. The B plot is who's his dad? What did his dad do? You know, that's the big mystery of the movie. Why is this?
I'm gonna be honest. The first time I watched it, I like completely ignored that part. I had totally forgotten that was even there. I don't think that's the A plot. I mean, I guess maybe the love story. It's a little confusing because they gave equal time to everything. But I think, you know, him Top Gun. Like, you know, is he
Well,
going to finish first? Is he going to graduate? Oh, there's the big fight at the end. You know, his battle with Iceman. That's the main story.
I'm saying his dad was the B.
Oh, you're saying C is then love.
Yes. I think screen time, it's close. I think it's very close.
There is a lot of just him wondering about his dad and a lot of just talk about his dad. And
then
you get the answer, the random answer at the end.
Yeah, it doesn't even really get resolved. It takes like a 30-second, like just little throwaway line from Viper. It's like, oh, we were on the wrong side of a map. So that's why nobody talks about it. Sick, dude. I just wasted my, entire night wondering what's going on with his dad just to have that thrown at me. So I was kind of pissed about that.
Moving into the Top Gun Maverick involved, and this is not a spoiler to say this. Clearly, this is going to be, a story about mentorship and maybe fatherhood and supposed fatherhood and who's your dad and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That really doesn't. His father, Tom Cruise's father, and his daddy issues have no relevance to the plot of the next film. There's no connection whatsoever. You would think maybe there would be. It's like, hey, I struggled with my dad being in the military, and it's not relevant whatsoever. His personal struggles, which
that's funny that they dropped that.
Yeah.
They forgot about it too.
Yeah. The volleyball scene is the volleyball scene,
The
what?
I thought you were gonna say that's your best scene.
No. It's a fun scene to shoot. They burnt an entire day filming it. The studio was not happy about it. They almost wanted to fire Tony Scott. The scene itself in the script is like a paragraph long, and they spent like this whole day shooting it. They shot it like a real game where they were playing against each other, like a commercial. It is well shot. It's a cool scene. It's to show like the competitive nature, but let's be honest, we're just trying to see some dude bods. I mean, it's for the ladies, right? Actually, it's for the men. If we're being honest, it's for the men,
for the boys. But I mean, yeah, that's the most like clear scene in the movie. Is like, okay, who is this movie aimed at? Clearly from that scene, I think you can tell. But yeah, I mean, it's a good scene. I was having a good time watching it, so can't complain. Tommy Boy's got some hops, but
and it's in the trailer. I won't get into specifics. Obviously, there is some sort. You get a little bit of this in the new one too. I mean,
football.
Yeah. You get football.
I haven't even seen it.
Miles Teller.
Evidently, he's a good-looking guy. All of a sudden, I didn't realize.
TikTok loves him. And it is mainly because of this scene, which is obviously a callback to the volleyball scene. So
the kid from what's that party movie? Dude, Miles Teller's been so much around.
Project X, where he plays Miles Teller.
Yeah, I love Miles Teller, but Whiplash, good movie. But
he's actually in a lot of War Dogs. I think is actually really underrated. I
like that movie.
It's a fun one. So
Anna de Armas didn't know English.
Yeah, did not know English, and she just memorized the lines. That's how she learned English. Very great story. War Dogs, fun one. Check it out on Netflix. You got any other stupid parts?
I don't. I feel like we covered pretty much the entire movie. So
yeah,
we did it right.
There's some nitpicky lines here or there.
The dialogue's bad, but yeah,
they're there, and Maverick looks at Goose and he goes, "I'm just wondering who's the best." And then the guy goes, "You're probably wondering who's the best." The classic stuff like that. They graduate, and then 24 hours later is the big battle that they have to. I mean, they're after it.
Don't go too hard tonight, boys. We got a battle in the morning.
I'm not an expert in foreign relations by any means, but I would imagine that some sort of direct altercation where we shoot down multiple planes. I don't know. You would think that would cause greater ramifications in the greater, scheme of the Cold War. Obviously, at the time, it wasn't, at the hottest it had been, or the Soviet Union was running out of money. So maybe, it's maybe believable, but I feel like there would be a bigger backlash if we were just, shooting down planes.
Yeah, fair. I mean, they shot at us first. That was always the big
thing. I guess they were in our area, but still the fact that it's just like, oh, everything's fine after this. You never, again, I don't know how this actually would have happened. So to me.
Wait, this wasn't based on a true story?
Yeah. Maverick Goose. Rip
Goose.
Favorite scene?
She is very gorgeous to me.
Kody, why don't you get a start? What's your favorite scene? I mean, the elevator scene's obviously great, but
I got a couple. Of course, the elevator scene is my first pick. Yeah, I mean, the opening against the MiGs, and then closing against the MiGs, pretty fun. Like, good scenes. That's the dumb fun that I did like a lot from this movie is the plane, action set pieces. I think they're pretty well shot, pretty well choreographed. So I was a fan. I like seeing planes blow up. So that was good. And then as well, I like my my funny pick here, the first flyby of Tom Cruise when that one guy spills his coffee everywhere. Big fan of that scene. Gotta laugh out of me there. The second time, not as big of a laugh. Doing the same joke twice, not always great. But the first one was actually pretty funny. So I want to shout that one out too.
The fact that the guy didn't catch on the second time, he still spilled his coffee. That's
he requested a flyby. What do you think he's gonna do?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Tough.
Obviously, Goose's death.
That's your favorite scene?
Is sad.
Come on.
But it is emotional. It does have some emotional weight. The Great Balls of Fire scene is fun.
Yeah.
There's another callback again in Top Gun Maverick in some way. It's referenced at least, right? And it is a fun scene.
Great Balls of Fire, probably, yeah. Miles Teller.
And then that is Miles Teller sitting right there in that scene when you think about it, little baby Miles. And then I think, like you said, the final battle, but I think the moment specifically when he's like, "Talk to me, Goose," which is obviously a mirroring of what he says earlier in the film, that beginning fight, "Talk to me, Goose."
Mm-hmm.
And it holds more weight because he's dead this time, and it's a spiritual talk to me, guide me in this moment. And I do think it, for a movie that like doesn't say a lot and is so cheesy and doesn't have a lot of emotion, it's like the closest hint of good emotion. So
fair enough. You were definitely bawling your eyes out during that one. Facts. That is facts too.
Let's talk filmmaking.
We are Full Sail University. We take dreams seriously.
Kody, do you have anything to say about this filmmaking? I mean,
I did have a couple of little things. First off, we mentioned the soundtrack, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit again. It's a little bit repetitive.
We do hear these songs 3-4 times.
How many times in a row? Because we had 4 scenes in a row with McGillis and Cruz, and you get the little undertones of "Take My Breath Away," and then it kicks in the sex scene, obviously. But I thought that was an interesting choice. And then I love the opening with and it's the closing too, isn't it? "Highway to the Danger Zone." So the music I think is a pretty big part of this. But the other thing I did want to mention as well,
it's interesting because in modern superhero films, there's like scores that are made, obviously, and superheroes have themes. Like, if I played you the Avengers theme, you would know it. If I played you the Darth Vader Imperial March, you would know it. Even the new Batman, Michael Giacchino. And it's almost like these like songs that were not, necessarily composed in the same way. They are the theme songs for these characters, right? Like Danger Zone is the theme song for this movie. Take Your Breath Away is the theme song for their relationship. And it's like this continuous motif that comes up. And it's really interesting to see it used that way. I think it's probably a very 80s thing. It still comes up. The way music is used in movies is always interesting though.
Yeah, it's kind of like what's it called in plays when what is the overture? Is that what they call it? When they play just hints of the theme.
I do know what you're talking about, but the word.
What's it called? Look it up. But they do that. It's like the first 5 or 10 minutes in the movie. They play a little bit of the overtures or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I found a late motif is a short reoccurring musical phrase associated with a particular person. Not quite the same thing, but I do know what you're talking about. It's kind of like that. You get a little bit of it, and it kind of primes you a little bit of you're prepared for it and you recognize it, and then when it comes back later, it means a lot more, and it's really interesting to see. They kind of do that with the beginning of this movie. You get the whole thing, but still, it primes you for when it comes back later.
I would say my other thing I wanted to mention, you probably saw this as well, but the shot of where Tom Cruise is taking the picture of the plane supposedly right underneath him, it's clearly not even close to each other. It's the optical illusion thing where one's close to the camera and one's behind, where you do it you're holding the Leaning Tower of Pisa or whatever. Did you notice that or no?
It doesn't look great.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if it was that, or that's also something that would not be the hardest thing to do, to just stitch to. You could literally take. This was shot on film. Today, you rotoscope people and you put people on a green screen and you mask out a background. In the past, what they would literally do is they would take the film and they could cut it, or they could mask it, and even in front of the lens by, I'm going to cover this part, and then the next time I'm going to shoot it, I'm going to cover this part. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Same thing, you could literally just stitch 2 frames together obviously in modern days, it would be a lot easier to do something like that. But forced perspective, I'm sure was also used throughout to kind of, make things seem like they were more dangerous than they were.
Well, they were pretty dangerous, evidently, because they ripped gears. But yeah, I think.
Well, I mean, in terms of shooting it, like
I know
they didn't want to kill people.
How dare they not risk the lives of our military people?
I will say, Goose kind of went out a sucky way, man. He just like hit the canopy. Like that's a tough.
I mean, yeah, he it's kind of a terrible way to go out. You spin out when it's not even your fault, and then I mean, what was the cause of death? Probably just blunt force trauma. So not great at all.
Absolutely not. I wanted to talk a little bit more about how they shot it. So I did some research. They had these A6 intruders that they were shooting on, and they had 4 different camera positions. So they had particularly Grumman Aircraft Co. developed these camera mounts they could stick on the plane. So there's the one in the cockpit looking forward over the shoulder of the pilot. So you can kind of see like the OTS shot. There's the second under the belly of the plane. The third you can put on either the wings looking forward, which you get, and then the other is just high on the tail looking down on the fuselage. So you can kind of just like see the people in it. There's obviously also the shots directly in the cockpit. The scenes are exciting with the planes. I will say it was definitely tough. They didn't have as much access to CG technology as they do now. Sometimes you could lose what was happening. Sometimes it was hard to follow exactly what was happening. And it's something I think the new film does a lot better of, whether it's, with special imagery and CGI generated graphics and stuff back in the command space, or specifically like doing a better job of just keeping things in space and keeping you aware of them. It's a hard thing to do. It takes a ton of planning. I mean, even the minimal stuff they did, they had to, think exactly this is where the planes are going to go and plan it out, because you're wasting money if you don't get it exactly right.
Yeah. No, and especially for the fighter pilot jets. I mean, the gas in those things, especially nowadays, can't be cheap. So yeah, that's definitely a good point.
And then I had a fun little anecdote. In order, there was to shoot that beginning scene where the sun is kind of setting and backlighting him. The aircraft carrier moved in the wrong direction and the light was all wrong. And Tony Scott was like, hey, can we like get it back on course? The captain told him it would cost $25,000 to turn the ship around and put it back the way he wanted. So then in a DVD interview, Scott said he just wrote him a check there. I think I read somewhere that it bounced later, but he needed to get the shot. So he put his own money out there on the line.
Wow. I would have figured he just said, fuck it, but that's funny. He actually wrote him a check. Tough.
Let's throw it over to weird movie details trivia.
Naked grandma. Naked, huh?
So obviously I already kind of spoiled my first question. It was just going to be, what's the Navy's official name for Top Gun? Fighter Weapons School is the answer. I didn't have choices because I thought maybe you'd get it, but
no chance.
Guess not. I still have 2 others.
Okay. I have 2 as well. You can take it off.
All right, sure. I'm just going to list you a bunch of call signs. You have to tell me which 2 were not in this movie. This shouldn't be hard. I think you can do this.
I got this.
Cougar, Merlin, Maverick, Goose, Hollywood, Cyclone, Iceman, Viper, Slider, Charlie, Jester, Hangman, Sundown, Wolfman.
Jesus Christ, you threw out a lot of names there. Okay, I'm definitely gonna need a repeat there. I believe that Cyclone is 1. So just start after Cyclone, because I think the rest of them were legit.
Iceman, Viper, Slider, Charlie, Jester, Hangman, Sundown, Wolfman.
Okay, Charlie, Hangman, Sundown, and Cyclone. I feel like Charlie maybe was 1. I think that is 1. Charlie, Hangman, that sounds legit. What was the other one I said? Hangman, Cyclone. What was the last one?
I'll just read them all. Iceman, Viper, Slider, Charlie, Jester, Hangman, Sundown, Wolfman.
Sundown. What the fuck is that? Okay, I think Hangman's 1. So I'm going to go Sundown and Cyclone.
It's Hangman and Cyclone, unfortunately.
Yeah. Who the hell
Sundown? Sundown, I believe, is the black guy.
Oh, he was in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then it's weird. Merlin is
the That's
Tim
that's
Robbins,
Shawshank. Yeah, Tim
which
Robbins.
is he like is barely in the movie, but he's there.
He's in it for 5 minutes too. Yeah.
He shows up at the end. Well, I think he's technically in the beginning, and then he's there at
Yeah.
the end as well.
Well, because I saw him he's in like the billing credits. He's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
like-
if you look on IMDb, it says it's the second build, but there's no way
no chance
because
he's not in it.
he's barely in the movie, and also like it's not like he was a huge name necessarily to like, sometimes you have a supporting actor like Robert Downey Jr. is barely in Homecoming, and he's the highest billed person, but that's obviously not the case here.
I don't think Tim Robbins was that big in the 80s, was he?
No, I don't. I mean, this is pre-Shawshank, and even Shawshank wasn't really. I mean, Tim Robbins has never been
Still not big, really. Yeah.
No, I mean The Player.
Yeah.
What else? Like,
I mean, you know him because Shawshank, but like
that
that's
Mystic River movie in the 2000s. Yeah, he's never had a huge career.
Yeah.
So.
It's true. I'm a fan though.
No, yeah, he's great. Cody, what's your question?
So I went extremely lazy on weird movie trivia this week. So
That's fine.
shout
I
out
need a
myself.
win.
You're not gonna get it. But anyways, my first question is, and there's no choices. How tall is Tommy Cruise? Give me his exact height.
I would say 5'8".
5'8"?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. But you're very close. I feel like we should give it to you. anyways.
5'9", 5'7".
It's 5'7". It's
Yeah.
5'7". So I'll give you a courtesy point there because that's a good
Appreciate
guess.
it.
Tommy
Yeah.
though, short guy.
Short
Very
guy, and historically, apple boxes are something that are used often in cinema for various amounts of reasons. They, put stuff on them, but put people on them. And Tom Cruise has stood on a lot of apple boxes in his career because let's be honest, when you get two shots of people side by side, you don't want your hero to be the shortest person in the frame. So Mission Impossible, Top Gun, he doesn't look like he's 5'7" in comparison to
game.
everyone else,
Shout out
especially
Short Games.
when you have
Corbin's
like Anthony
ripping him
Edwards.
apart right now, dude.
But the thing is, again, Top Gun Maverick, Miles Teller towers over him in this movie.
Really?
Miles Teller's like 6'3", maybe. He's tall. And they don't make light of it, the difference in height. It's definitely something that they use. So I think that's cool.
That is cool. I like that. But yeah, shout out our short kings. I mean, this is some major slander from
Shout out Vano.
Anyways, what's your second question?
All right, this is there's no choices, but I can
Okay.
give you a hint potentially.
Sure.
In the beginning of the movie, Stinger says, with a history of high-speed passes over 5 air control towers and 1 admiral's daughter,
Mhm.
Goose turns to Maverick and says her name. What's her name?
It's
To
Jennifer.
give you a
Connelly.
hint, yeah, it's Jennifer Connelly.
What's her name? Patty something? Someone with a P, right?
Yeah.
What is it? Patty?
Think more money.
I feel like that's not a good hint. Penny.
It's a great hit. Yeah, there you go.
Oh. Penny's
And
name.
then
What's the admiral's last name? I'm probably not gonna get this.
thing, National Treasure.
Declaration of Independence. Ben Gates. Penny Gates. Penny Franklin.
Other one. Try again. Keep going.
Penny
Benjamin. Penny Benjamin.
I said Benjamin. I said Penny Benjamin, did I not?
No, you said
Yes,
Penny
I did.
Gates.
Roll the tape. I said it right after Gates. Penny Gates. Penny Franklin. Oh no, I said Franklin.
Yeah, you said
Ben,
Franklin.
though. I said Penny Ben. All right, that counts too. This weird movie trivia is shocked.
What do you got for me? Hit me with the last one.
My last question.
Oh, also, by the way, I forgot to mention Cyclone is John Hamm in Top Gun Maverick, and
John
Hangman.
Hamm's in Top Gun Maverick. Wow, that's your first spoiler you just gave me, dude. Oh.
He's not. He doesn't play a secret character. He's in the trailer. He literally plays. I mean, the same character he plays in everything. He's a dude in a suit. Like he's just in the military instead of the FBI. John Hamm is Cyclone, and then Glenn Powell. Do you know he's in the movie too?
Who's Glenn Powell? The guy from Sunny?
No, that's Glenn Howerton. You would recognize Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell's Hangman. All I'm saying is I didn't come up with these other names. I stole them from the new movie.
Gotcha. Okay. That's respectful at least. Yeah, my second question. It is a two-parter here, and it's really just to prove a point. But second question, no options again. How tall is a normal and like specific rules? How tall is a volleyball net?
Women's or men's? I would like to show you. This is Glenn Powell. He was in The Dark
Men's.
Knight Rises.
Oh, he's in Top Gun too.
He's
Cool.
yeah. This guy.
I do
Look
know.
at him. Obviously, he's Top Gun. Look at this guy.
He's
right.
perfect.
Men's
Yeah,
or women's height? Or are you talking about
Oh,
sand volleyball
We're
net?
going men's here. We're going men's. We do have some dudes playing volleyball.
No choices. You're not gonna give me choices.
Fuck it.
Well, here's what I can say. I'm a volleyball guy. I managed my high school volleyball team. I was a volleyball official at the Correct for many years.
This is true.
It's not an even number is the thing that makes this hard.
Well,
it's not like just
I
9
rounded
feet.
up. I rounded up.
Okay, then 9 feet.
No, it's 8 feet.
Well, okay. What is it? 8,
Well,
8 feet, 3 inches, and
no, technically it's like 7 feet, 11 inches, and 3/4 or something stupid.
not a men's volleyball net.
I don't know. This is lazy trivia, bro. This is not the point. got it
Maybe a
wrong.
women's, but a men's. You think a men's volleyball net is?
I just
Huh?
Googled how tall the normal volleyball.
This does say 7 feet 11 inches, so maybe you're right. That doesn't seem right to me, but
Their fraction at the end or no?
yeah, 5/8.
Oh, 5/8. Okay, I was off.
Okay, and then a
Uh,
women's is 7 and 4 1/8.
Okay, so you weren't close anyways.
So
But
there you go. I was wrong.
yeah. So basically, the point is,
That makes sense. It's not a
Tom
basketball
Cruise
goal.
is
Basketball
5'7".
gets 10.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tom Cruise is 5'7". A volleyball at 8 feet. You're telling me this guy's got like a 2.5 inch vert? I mean, 2.5 foot vert, whatever, not inch.
I will
Yeah.
say,
I highly doubt it. That's my
yeah, sand nets. Yeah. I mean, he's
That's
doing
true.
his thing.
Stunt doubles all day. Go back and look at that scene. Crazy stunt doubles out there. Tommy boy, you're not getting up. I'm sorry.
Goose is, though. Goose is going up and putting up a ball.
That's
You know
100%
that.
Goose. Yeah, that dude's a dog.
We'll take a quick commercial break and then we'll be right back. And we're back. Who can act?
Wow.
Kody, take it away.
Yeah, I got a couple people here. Actually, a decent amount of actors in this movie who I do like. So, first off, my favorite character, I already mentioned it, I believe. Oh, no, other than Goose. Well, fuck it. We'll start with you. Anthony Edwards Jr., baller in this movie. I think a very good performance as well. Because, I mean, it did actually hit me emotionally when this guy went down. So, props to him in Top Gun. But my second pick, they're probably equal. Who's my favorite? Tom Skerritt is Viper. I'll tell you what, he doesn't have the best dialogue. He's not given the best to work with, but I don't know why, but I love this guy in this movie. I think maybe it's just because most of the scenes he's acting against Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is absolutely terrible. So that might be it. But I love the mustache. He's got that badass vibes where like, yeah, this guy's a nasty pilot and he knows what he's talking about. And then I'm just going to go through all three of them. So I'm doing it anyways. Meg Ryan as Goose's wife. I thought they had great chemistry. Maybe should have been the leads. And
Incredibly underutilized in this movie.
oh yeah, dude, Meg Ryan is a phenomenal actress, I would say, especially in like this kind of role, like romantic stuff. I think she's very good. But yeah, I thought she was great. She didn't have the best dialogue either, but I think her and Skerritt both worked around it. And actually, put in pretty good performances for Top Gun.
I back it. Anthony Edwards was my number one. I think the comedic timing is just impeccable. Some of that goes down to editing, but it's also just natural talent being able to put it out there. And he's got amazing charisma as Goose. From the very first moment you meet these two characters, it's kind of like you're forced to like Tom Cruise in the character of Maverick a little bit because you like Goose so much. And it's like, if Goose likes this dude and is there for him, like there must be some quality that we can attach ourselves to other than just he's the hero. and it's like that, people say like golden retriever energy. It's a little bit of that. I think Goose has some golden retriever energy, and it's not a bad thing at all. My second one, which is someone we have not talked about at all, Val Kilmer. He's had an interesting career. He plays Iceman, and he's cool as ice in this movie. I mean, listen, he's not doing a lot, but he's like straight laced, dead eye. You don't mess with this dude. He's a badass, and he's awesome. He's a good villain. He's not too evil. He's just there. He's just a little cocky.
I agree. I didn't have Val on my list, but he's definitely in that middle tier, I think, of still having a good performance, I would say. He's just got a very punchable face, I think, which works well in this movie. He makes that stupid little smile, and it's like, yeah, this guy's an asshole. But I mean, he does have like some character development too, which in villains in these kind of movies you don't really see that much. So I thought that was cool as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't remember, he didn't want to do this movie, and contractually he was like obligated to, so he just ended up being in it. But it's probably like one of, other than maybe like Batman, it's one of his most well-known characters. So I guess he lucked out that they forced him.
I think he has a really good documentary on Hulu.
A24 documentary, Val. Talking about how he has
after this,
throat cancer. Yeah.
I heard it's really good. But yeah.
Who can't act?
That's my opinion!
I really only have one person's name written down. We've kind of I've raved about him a lot this episode about being a movie star, and he carries this movie. But let's be honest, Tom Cruise's acting is not very good in this. There's something about Tom Cruise, I don't know, like I just don't buy it. Like the douchey, like can't, like his smile is just like fake every time I see it. He's just putting on this act that I don't believe it's anything real at all, and he just doesn't fit the role for me. I don't know what it is.
I agree. I think him like being this ultra tough guy for this time in Tom's career, I think it doesn't work at all. And I think he's kind of lost into, he's got to be the most menacing guy right now. I think he's overacting a little bit, which definitely hurts him. And I'll tell you, he has like become a pretty decent actor, I would say.
That's the thing. I think it's like him taking this role, even though he didn't, execute it in the best way, it shaped his career. It set him in a direction, and he's molded himself to pull this off. And he is one of the better parts about this new Top Gun Maverick movie. He is genuinely good in it.
Yeah, and that's not surprising at all because it's Tom Cruise. I mean, this has got to be his worst performance that I've seen because it's just bad. It's just noticeably like, okay, this guy does not like know what he's doing acting wise, I don't think, which is tough. But I also wanted to shout out Kelly McGillis because I think she's equally as bad in this movie. Again, dialogue, whatever, but their whole chemistry, I don't buy that at all, which is another massive thing for Tom too. So, can't really buy his character, can't really buy his, the massive relationship. I think that's 0 for 2 from Tommy there.
Let's throw it over to the recast.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
And funny enough, I didn't say she was my can't act, but Charlie does need to be replaced. Kelly McGinnis.
Oh, that's her call name. That makes
Charlie,
sense.
Yeah, Charlie was a call sign. And I'm gonna go Michelle Pfeiffer. If you think of, big, huge stars in the 80s, 90s, like she's probably one of the biggest. And I think we get a little fun romance. You still get that like very attractive young woman thing. Michelle Pfeiffer's great. She's a legit actress, and I don't know.
I completely agree. That's a good pick. Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer, great. But
that's true. I guess we get the Batman. I mean, it's not the same one, right? But
Bat and the Cat. But so my thought process here was kind of a strange one. I wanted to replace the duo of Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis because I think they're, even if you swap one of them in and one of them out, it's still gonna be terrible. So, and I kind of went like more 90s themed than 80s themed here. So my first one, Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. I would have really liked seeing that. And then my second one is Bruce Willis and Uma Thurman, which I like a lot.
I don't love that one. I don't know.
Bruce Willis trying in the 90s and like Pulp Fiction, Uma Thurman.
No, I can see the military thing at all really well. I just don't know if he gives pilot energy. I kind of have a interesting maybe what if, Tony Scott, the director of this film, he's Ridley Scott's brother. Did you know that?
I did know that actually.
So what if we just, gave it to the better brother? What if we said, Ridley Scott, you're a great director. Why don't you direct this movie instead?
I would like to see that. Are we going like sci-fi here or what's going on?
He doesn't. Ridley Scott does not.
Just like the same tone, just Ridley Scott.
I mean, it's like, yeah, exactly. I think we could have a little bit more fun with it in a Ridley Scott way that, I don't know. I think the action would have been shot better, in my opinion. I don't know. Yeah. I trust probably that a little bit more. It's funny that, Tom Cruise worked on a movie with Ridley Scott, and that's the whole reason he even got this role. He's like, hey, you should told his brother to go check out Tom Cruise for this role in Top Gun. And that's kind of how it happened.
Really? I didn't know that. That's actually cool. But Ridley Scott, I mean, I would watch it, but I feel like if you're keeping the same tone, like Tony Scott probably did a pretty good job. So I don't know.
Do you have another one?
Yeah, my other one, I'm actually getting rid of Iceman, getting rid of Val Kilmer. Like I said, I do think he's actually, pretty good at this. But I wanted to replace him because I thought that Jim Carrey would have nailed this role. Just give me like the mask Jim Carrey with no CGI. So he's making these stupid like faces that Val Kilmer was also making, but it's fucking Jim Carrey grinning in your face. Like that would just piss off me. I mean, that would piss me off so much. I think if like I actually had to work next to Jim Carrey doing all these stupid faces. So for my own sake, I kind of just want to see that.
Here's my question.
Mhm.
Jim Carrey's got to get jacked, though. He's got to get shredded.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like Goose and Tom Cruise aren't that shredded.
Well, Goose doesn't take his shirt off, but
but
like the other three of them, like they're pretty built, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they got six packs, and I guess I'd love to see Jim Carrey put in the effort.
Yeah, imagine Jim Carrey in that volleyball scene, bro. That would have been iconic. He probably would have kept his shirt on too, to be fair. But, so.
I think it still kind of stays with the punchable face theme a little bit. So
yeah.
I
I was definitely along the lines of that theme. And also, I mean, they gave Paul Rudd a six-pack in Ant-Man. They can give
right. I mean, modern steroids are amazing. I don't know. I don't know what they had in the 80s.
Oh, they had the good steroids, I'm sure. But
my last other thing, and this isn't really something I want to see, but I'm just curious to hear your thoughts.
Mhm.
John Carpenter and David Cronenberg were both offered to direct this film when they turned it down. Like, what do you think, what those takes might have looked like, or would you want to see either of those directors take that on?
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that either.
I mean, Cronenberg's interesting because he's obviously got a movie coming out, or has come out, I think, at this point with Kristen Stewart and Viggo Mortensen, which is like a body horror film where he's remaking a movie he made all by himself back in 1970. But both of those directors have lived in the horror genre a little bit. It's kind of interesting to see that they
kind of just makes sense that they would offer it to those kind of directors, unless they wanted to make it maybe a little bit darker, which I kind of doubt. But
I would have liked it, but I don't think in the 80s it would have made sense.
No. And it wouldn't have had the same effect at all. I don't think it was that serious movie. But yeah, I would have liked seeing John Carpenter direct it. I like him a lot, and I mean, give him this type of budget, I feel like he'd probably do some interesting stuff.
Let's move on to the rating.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
Out of 69.
We said it was very middle of the road. For me, it's a 3-star film. And it's funny because it's kind of, I'm at the point where I have a few different 3-star films that are all like basically the same score. I put it at a 46 out of 69.
Wow. Okay. That's generous. That's very generous. I'm actually very close to that. But I went a little bit lower. I went 45 out of 69.
Hey, look at us.
We agree on a movie for once, which is crazy. But yeah, like we've said, I mean, it's a fun, dumb movie, but it's definitely middle of the road for me. The acting of the main two is big time no. But it's Top Gun. It knows what it is. It's got good music. Fun scenes at the end. So yeah, I mean, it's not what I really expected. I didn't really know what to expect from this movie, but I was definitely like a little bit disappointed just because of how like iconic and famous it is. But yeah, not a bad flick. Like I said, I definitely watch it again.
We have a Podgorithm, which, if you're new here, if you don't know, I draw a random movie from this blockbuster movie card game, and then Kody and I both have basically 30 seconds to give a little hot take, give our thoughts, just expound upon, all of our inner desires about the movie. The movie we're drawing today.
Season 3.
This is a fun run. Just going to double check real quick that we have not done it before, but we haven't. So we're going to talk Bridesmaids. Kody, take it away.
We're starting. Bridesmaids, I think modern classic. Maya Rudolph, best supporting actress, absolutely robbed at the Oscars. But yeah, I think this is one of my favorite recent comedies. Obviously, there's been a lot of good ones, but I mean, Kristen Wiig, this is by far her best movie as well. This cast in general, Melissa McCarthy's so funny. I don't know. These SNL girls, they don't make that much good stuff, but this is the peak of it. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely say check it out. I think it's in my Letterboxd list of movies that I like recommend. Because I was looking at that the other day. I was like, yeah, I threw that in there. Yeah, that's probably like at the very end of the list, but this is that good of a comedy. I think you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, it is. It is in that. I've seen that in there. I'm like, oh wow, Kody. That's why I put her in your top 5 actresses of all time, because I thought you liked, because you said it was one of your favorite movies ever, and I was like, okay, well, you must like Kristen Wiig a lot. She wrote it. This is a movie we actually looked at in my screenwriting class that I took 2 summers ago. Because it is a really cool. I mean, it is, again, it's very similar to like Good Will Hunting, and the idea that it's like it's a basic script. It tells a very linear story. You get your boom, you meet your characters. Oh, this is why you should like her. Oh, this is the problem. Oh, now here's a B plot. She's got her own romance. Yada. Like it's very. This is a traditional story.
Textbook. Yeah,
it works well. You know, it was really cool. We read some stuff about how Kristen Wiig like sat down and was like, hey, I'm going to write a screenplay. Like, what does that look? And she, you know, used resources that, you know, then you can look at yourself of like, what is how to write a screenplay. Like, and you can do it. So it's kind of cool.
Well, that was over 30 seconds.
Yeah, so was yours.
Tough.
I let you keep talking, Holmes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Recommendations.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
So we will talk. We haven't had an official discussion about Survivor, so we'll do that, but we'll save that for last. Yeah, we haven't done an on pod 42 wrap up discussion. So we'll do that at the end. So stick around if you care about that, but you probably don't. I gotta talk about a movie, and I've been actually just waiting to talk about this. It's probably the most excited I've been about to talk about a movie in a long time, and it's this film. It's called RRR, also Rise, Roar, Revolt, and it is this Indian film directed by this guy named S.S. Rajamouli, and it is incredible. It is truly great. It's on Netflix. It came out this year. It is not a Bollywood film, it's a Tollywood film. So it's in the language of Telugu. And so it's actually really interesting because the version on Netflix is in Hindi. So it's dubbed. That's the one thing I didn't love about it, is that you're not even, so it's dubbed in Hindi, but with English subtitles. Because the original language, because it's like the version that they released.
It doesn't match like what they're mouthing.
No. And I didn't realize, I was like, I feel like this is weirdly ADR'd at some point. Yeah. So then I realized, I was like, wait, this whole thing is like, because basically Telugu is a language that is spoken in the southeastern part of India in a particular state, whereas Hindi is obviously the national language. So when they put it on wide release, they dubbed over it for everybody. And then that's just what Netflix required. But this movie is over 3 hours long. I believe it's like 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
I gave it 4.5 stars. It's my second favorite movie of the year behind.
It's not even a 5-star. You said it was a great movie, dude.
It is great. Oh, shut up, Kody. But no, this movie is really fun. So basically what it takes these two characters who are real life Indian revolutionaries who stood up against the British during the 1920s and 1930s. And it creates a fictional story about them, sets it in 1920. What if they met up and become best friends? But the thing about it is they're like superheroes. So this movie is very much kind of like an anime brought to real life. And it's also like this epic scale of this giant like proportions. It's the most expensive movie ever made in India. It was only shot for $72 million, but like considering in India, that's like a ton of money in comparison. And like the amount of people that like, it's just one of those huge films. It took almost 3 years to make, including the pandemic, but it's just like this extremely large production in this crazy story. And it's just intense action scenes after intense action scenes. And there's also like a musical part of it a little bit thrown in there. Okay. There's really fun scenes with like these CGI animals doing crazy stuff. There's a dance sequence. There's a love story. There is a lot of political stuff in here and a lot of like anti-imperialist and anti-British rule stuff. There's also like 20% of this is in English because it does feature, the British were ruling in India at the time. So if you're a little wary of like, hey, watching a movie in a foreign language, I understand some people don't want to do that. There is some English in here to kind of keep you interested. And there's also music and in crazy action sequences with fire and people who are basically Superman fighting each other. This movie's crazy. There's stuff in this film that like I feel like like you watch movies and yes, you see cool stuff, but it never feels like you're seeing something new.
Mm-hmm.
This is like that moment where it's like you see something, you're like, I've not seen anything like this before, and it's crazy.
God damn.
Not perfect. There are parts of it. I wrote in my letterbox review that like the worst parts of this feel like some of the best parts of a Zack Snyder movie. Like there's like some slow motion, like really well shot action sequence stuff that I think is incredible. And like that's the low moments in this. So I don't know. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it. I know not a lot of people have seen it. So it's on Netflix. Go check it out.
Yeah.
And if 3 hours is too long, split it up into watch an hour, come back. It's a big story, but you can split it up, you can make it work. And I was enthralled with it. I watched it in one night. So for me, honestly, if I watch a 3-hour foreign language film all in one sitting, that'll tell you that I really did enjoy it, because I'm pretty easily distracted by my phone or whatever. And so check it out. Highly recommend. And also the opening title doesn't show up until 40 minutes into the movie, and that's obvious. That's a sign of a banger right there.
That's cool. I like that. But yeah, oh my, a glowing review there. I might have to check that one out. What's it called? RRR?
Yeah, just RRR on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And there's just some insane action sequences in this.
All right.
There's a man who just like fights an entire mob of people by himself. It's crazy. And that's in the first like 20 minutes.
Nice. All right. Good stuff. Good track. I don't know if I can follow that. We might have to end the episode. But yeah, my Rex this week, I got nothing really. I mean, honest. I haven't seen Obi-Wan. I haven't seen.
Let's talk Stranger Things, Kody. We've both seen it. Volume 1.
Oh yeah, you watched the entire thing now, right?
Yeah, let's have a discussion.
So what did you think about the last episode?
I don't know. Do you think Steve? I mean, everyone seems to think Steve's gonna die, but I don't think Steve's gonna die.
I think Steve's gonna die.
Sorry, spoilers ahead. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. But
whatever. It's Stranger Things. But dude, they're setting up his character like with Nancy again. So I mean, somebody's got to go, and Jonathan's not in this season at all. So I think he's gone though. And somebody like important like needs to die this season.
What about the Nancy Robin? You're not in on that? The shippers? Like,
I mean, I'm down with that too, but I don't think Robin's dying. She's too new of a character. I think Nancy could go as well, but I'd be surprised. I think one of those two will die.
I know you're a hater of the season 2 stuff with like the backstory and all that, and a lot of people are not a fan. Do you feel validated that this has basically ignored all of that? And
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I really like it seems like this was set up since the beginning. Which is very
I was actually listening to our 2021 reviewed podcast a couple of days ago. Great pod. Go check it out. And I said in it, I made this comment where I was like, I don't think the Duffer Brothers had anything planned out.
Yeah.
They had no idea what they're doing. And I will admit that I was wrong there. I think they did actually have a story.
I agree with you.
And I think it's a great, I think they're in a good spot. I did see that season 5 is going to be a time jump, which
of course
they have to do because these
oh my goodness,
people look old as shit. But
yeah, they have to do a time jump. That I was fine with that. But and yeah, that makes even more sense. Like with a big death, they're gonna do a time jump, and that'll just be super easy. But
what did you think of the twist?
I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, the writing's pretty good, I think, in this. And what I was gonna say is like in earlier seasons, like there would be like a bell ringing, like when something was getting
the
snuck
clock.
out.
Yeah.
That's badass. That's very cool, and big fan of that. But yeah, the writing, I didn't see it coming. I thought it was a good twist.
That goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. They had the sound motif throughout. Anytime the upside down would appear in Stranger Things, you would get the sound of this grandfather clock, which then we realized belonged to the Creel family, and there's obviously all that significance there.
Well, there's more to it, I think. I'm sure the clock is how you defeat him or some shit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
his soul's in there or something.
Yeah, something stupid. But I didn't see this twist.
Basically the MacGuffin now, right?
I mean, might as well. But I mean, I think this is actually pretty damn good writing for Stranger Things, and that surprised me.
Yeah, I think the splitting of the Finn and Will stuff, and like you said, the Jonathan and
the Jonathan storyline's pretty much dead this season. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad about that. I thought the Hopper stuff was my favorite part of it all. Which I did not expect. I thought I was not gonna like it.
Same. The Game of Thrones guy, dude.
Yeah,
The faceless man. That guy's a
it was good.
badass.
Yeah, no, I thought that stuff was really compelling, and I was so glad that the season they got to see each other before the volumes end. I was gonna be really mad if like everyone was not reunited, which it makes sense. This is a natural, kind of stopping point. So I'm fine with them splitting it up, I guess.
Yeah. It was a good point.
The 11 stuff again is, it's cool to see her backstory, but it's like, this is the third season or the second season where she just gets like sidelined away from everybody else. And that kind of always sucks.
That is true. I like Matthew Modine, but I feel like there wasn't really a need to bring him back, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like they just didn't really have anything for her to do other than, oh shit, fucking her dad's back and, she needs her powers, I guess. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for the last few episodes. Steve is gone though. I am basically guaranteed that. If he's not gone, I'm very surprised.
I like Joe Keery a lot. I think he's fun.
I do too. I think he's the best part of the show. But yeah, Mind the Rex. Like I said, haven't seen Obi-Wan. I think there's 4 episodes out now, so I'm definitely gonna watch that. I just haven't had time, sadly. And I believe the first episode of Miss Marvel came out today as well. Did it not, Korbin?
Yeah, it did. I haven't had a chance to check it out, but
I've not
it is out, so check that out. People are being racist and horrible again.
Of course.
People are being Islamophobic, so unsurprisingly, to be expected.
That's just fucking stupid, but whatever. And then yeah, still haven't finished Moon Knight, so I should probably do that, I guess, first. But the other thing I want to talk about that I saw today, the Black Adam trailer came out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I did watch that. Interesting. Is he a bad guy? It seems a bit of a villain.
That was my main takeaway. It looks like Black Adam's the hero. So I'm kind of confused, but I'm sure he'll just be like, obviously he kills.
I mean, he punches a jet. Speaking of Top Gun,
he does, but I mean, whatever. I think he teams up with basically the Justice League of the 1800s or some shit. But the cast is great. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, what's up with the setting? The setting is very strange. I'm not really sure what's going on with that.
It's like Golden Age comic stuff, so it's gonna be set in like the 1920s or something.
But it's like really high. I mean, it's high technology though. I don't know. It's like Wakanda almost, but
it's not really high technology. It's just like Hawkman's armor, and then you got
the jets. Guy. The jets are not 20s jets.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like it's a weird setting. I'm not really sure.
It is, I guess, modern, but the characters don't really fit that. I don't know. Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. I think that's great casting. I'm excited for that. And Hawkman also looks cool. So I'll definitely see it. But
then there's the big guy, Noah Centineo, whatever.
Yeah, that's some Netflix movie guy, isn't it?
Yeah. To All the Girls I Loved.
There you go. Not sure about that guy, but
yeah, he's barely in the trailer. I feel like they probably won't play other than Dr. Fate. I don't know how much of a role they'll all play. We'll see. For me, I watched Paddington for the first time.
Really, I've seen that.
Cute bear. I don't know. People hailed the second one.
Yeah,
like it was good. People say the second one is like way better and obviously the greatest movie of all time. So I'll check it out eventually. I watched the Meyerowitz Stories from Noah Baumbach. That's also on Netflix. Really underrated Adam Sandler performance. Noah Baumbach is a good writer. I mean, it's what? Why are you shaking your head?
What movie was that? I don't think I've ever.
The Meyerowitz Stories, New and Selected. So it's Noah Baumbach.
I've never heard of that.
So you know who Noah Baumbach is, right?
I do know who Noah Baumbach is.
Marriage Story. This movie it stars Adam Sandler as kind of the main character, but then his dad is played by Dustin Hoffman, and then his half brother is played by Ben Stiller.
Oh wow!
And then Emma Thompson plays his sister. So it's a pretty all-star cast. Sigourney Weaver plays herself for about 60 seconds, and Adam Driver is in it for about 2 minutes, where he plays this prick rock star, which is Adam. It's Adam Driver.
That's awesome.
No, yeah, this movie was actually really good. Baumbach knows how to write dialogue. It's really snappy dialogue. There's a lot of like high artsy stuff. Like the dad is the sculptor, and it's a very like art movie. It's themes. The daughter is this film student at Bard, and she makes these insane like weird student films, which are probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. But yeah, it's on Netflix. Check it out. I'm giving you all the Netflix recs this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are actually two things I might actually check out. So not bad recs for me.
So, watch some other stuff. Idiocracy, Anchorman, Focus. Those are all fine. Idiocracy, cool satire. Maya Rudolph again. Anchorman, I was actually a little disappointed in, to be entirely honest with you. I'd never seen it before.
Oh, really? You've never seen Anchorman?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's cool to see McKay and Farrell kind of get their like movie start, but in comparison, I think it's pretty mid and with a lot of the other stuff they do.
Yeah.
And then Focus, it's Margot Robbie being a star and Will Smith kind of being not as big of a star, but also a star. And, it's what the movie is.
Good description.
It's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, any other recs, Kody, or should we talk Survivor?
I say we hop into Survivor here.
We've been droning on forever, and I'm sure all the listeners are just.
You're still listening at this point.
I'm gonna let Hayden know that we did a Survivor discussion. He'll probably be.
Go to the end, Hayden. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, the finale. Obviously, Marianne was crowned our winner. I think rightfully so. But yeah, the finale I thought was pretty good. It kept me on my toes. I really thought that Mike was going to lose the fire making challenge, and we just have a slaughter for tribal council, which would have been fun. Evidently,
but no, he's a fucking fireman. You think he doesn't know how to make a fire, Kody?
True, but that guy's like the strongest competitor of all time. But yeah, props to Mike. He played a hell of a game. Props to Romeo as well. Love him winning final immunity. I thought that was very funny ending to that storyline. But yeah, the season as a whole, evidently it's shrouded in
controversy.
Controversy a little bit because of the whole Ponderosa thing, and I guess Drea went crazy and was talking crap about Omer, which is pretty funny. But I think in general, it's definitely a slow start to the season. It is the new format of Survivor. It's not the same show really at all. So I hope they do differ away from that a little bit. I don't mind the no food less days thing, but like the safety is power, I don't really like that. And that's not even what it's called. The triple fire box thing, whatever the fuck that is. I like the final 7. So stupid. Also, just get fire making out. So stupid as well. But I mean,
I personally, I'll say this as a person who has gone back and watched some older seasons and recently, I think fire making at 4 is a lot more interesting than.
No, get the fuck out. That's a terrible thing.
I think it adds a different elements of the game. I don't know. I think in looking at the other seasons, like, I don't like it.
You know what? You've only seen the good seasons so far.
That's fair.
I recommended the shitty seasons to you. You'll see fire making is terrible. The first season they do fire making ruins it altogether. But yeah, that's a funny perspective for me, honestly, because when you see the bad seasons, you're like, yeah, this is.
You want an official update on seasons watched?
I do. I want to see hear which ones you've gone through.
So we've seen. I did 1. We've done
Classic.
7. I have 2 episodes left in 13.
Cook Islands, yeah. Good season.
25.
What's that?
That was the one Denise won.
Yeah, okay. Philippines. Good season.
27. 28, sorry, Cagayan.
Fucking. What do you think about Cagayan?
Yeah, it's really good. I thought it was my favorite, but actually I gotta say 37 is probably been my favorite. Which is Nick wins.
Oh, David versus Goliath. Yeah, that's great.
David versus Goliath. That's the one. Yeah. That one, in terms of like tribal council gameplay, the best that I've seen up to this point, with just like idols being used properly, advantages used. It's just really incredible stuff that you don't get a lot. So 13 is an interesting one. Obviously controversially.
Yes, very controversial.
Separated by race at the beginning. It only lasts like an episode and a half, but interesting way to start the season. Like I said, 2 episodes left. Curious to see kind of how things play out as it finishes up. But I definitely do like. It's tough because I know there was some bad seasons. I know people say like the early 20s are rough, but I definitely probably prefer the seasons that I've seen in like the 20s and 30s. I do prefer to like the 0 to 20 seasons, the more modern Survivor where people are actually strategizing. Idols actually have a real play, because even in 13 there is a hidden immunity idol, but it's like the third time they've done it, and it's also like one of the super idols that he can play after the vote, and I'm guessing he's not even gonna have to use it, and he does kind of utilize it in an interesting way, but I like the later seasons with the more idols and the people that are fans of the show, right? That's kind of what it is.
Oh yeah,
people are so like in this season, in season 13, like Jonathan just got voted out. He's the last person voted out, and obviously he comes back in later seasons. I watched him in 28. But like he does flip flop on him, but like they say awful things about this guy who's just like playing the game, that like it is crazy like how ostracized. And this is actually the first season that I've seen where like the jury is really like, I'm curious to see how their anger and their emotions play in the end. It might not end up having an effect, but it seems like there's some people that are like particularly like really pissing people on the jury off, and I'm curious to see how that plays out in the end.
It's awesome. I'm loving the Survivor breakdown here. I'm not gonna lie. But I definitely agree. The modern seasons are much better, and it's kind of the thing with season 42 where people get petty on the jury sometimes. But
that's true, and that the interesting thing, and I think this is a problem. So the people on the jury only get their only information is what they hear at tribal council, and then what people who are voted out tell them.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of the potential for some people to be, poisoned or lied to, and allegedly that is what happened. Drea was voted out of the game, and then apparently started poisoning the jury against Omar, which it didn't matter in hindsight, but it's kind of unfair that that's something that can happen, and I don't know the way to combat that. I think I saw on Reddit somebody suggest like, oh, they should just have access to all the footage, but like that's just a insane undertaking, and
that's really weird.
Also like they can't like edit something up for them really quickly, so like I don't know if there's a great solution. Maybe an independent summarizer. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, there's really no good solution there.
It's a part of the game, though.
Release the footage, Ponderosa. Release the damn footage. That's all I'm saying.
They say that it is not. It's because of COVID. They just didn't shoot it.
Bullshit. It's Survivor, bro. I don't buy it because they did it for season 41, so it doesn't even make sense. But what I was gonna say, David versus Goliath, hell of a fucking season. My next recommendation to you, I have two actually, is Millennials versus Gen X. Another great,
that was on the radar.
That's got to be next, and then I think after that you go Fans versus Favorite One, just because it ties into Cook Islands pretty well too. So
yeah, so
that's like I think a highly considered like a top 3 season. That's not one of my favorite seasons, but that's like a top 3 season like worldwide, I'd say.
I've been trying to like find that balance of like, I don't want to watch season 40 because then any season I watch for that, I know who the winner is, right?
Don't watch 40 yet. Don't watch it yet.
But it's like I also do want to get to some of those seasons like Fans versus Favorites. But I will say I knew the winner of season 1. I knew it was Richard Hatch, and it did kind of ruin it for me. So it's like I knew Jonathan was getting voted out, and I kind of knew about when he was going to get voted out. So it's like this whole time I'm like, oh well, this is probably the episode, and it's like it kind of makes it worse. So I am trying the best I can to not spoil, but I also am not going to watch season 1 to 40 in order. So it's like stuff's going to happen. I don't know. I think I have been eyeing. I want to watch. I think it's season 3, whatever one Rob is on for the first time, because I kind of, he's a huge character. I feel like I know you say it's a bad season.
Don't watch that one. Don't watch Marquesas, dude. It's bad. It's bad. You would not like that season though.
I don't know. I mean, there's 8 All Stars.
Yeah,
I know he loses, so it doesn't matter.
I wouldn't even really watch All Stars either, but I would watch it for the memes because it's really funny. But it's not like a good season of Survivor. But it's important for the Boston Rob lore for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Marquesas is not important to his lore at all. All Stars is very important. That's why I would say that.
Fair enough. If you're gonna pick because that's where he meets. That's where he meets his woman. I know.
Well, and the thing in his first season, he's not. He's not really that Boston Rob that he is.
Right. Yeah. Because he gets a persona. Yeah. I will say, I think 2 is gonna have to come up soon, just because I feel like that's. I don't know. a ton of people get sick. I don't know. It's a really weird season in comparison to the others, and I'm kind of interested in seeing it. I know a ton of people like drop out. A ton of people get sick. There's all the lion stuff. Yeah, exactly. Fall into the fucking fire. Like, I know they drank. It's also interesting. The water situation is so interesting in the early seasons. Now they just get like a well with clean water and purified. Like even in 13, they still had to boil the water. And I know in like Africa, they're getting water from like the ground, and it's not the best situation. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm almost done with this one. I do need to probably take a break again for a couple days and then come back to it. I went through 37. I think 37 is the fastest I've watched this season. That was like a straight through banger. And that was a lot of fun. Christian's great. Gabby's great, which again,
I love Christian.
You and Jackson talked about it. You talked about that situation.
Did.
And it was in my ear, and then I knew it was going to happen.
Oh, that is tough. That is tough, but that is so true. That's a choice.
I read so much stuff though that's not what happened, and that
no, I've read it too, but that's definitely what it is. I think.
Well, he says he talked about his girlfriend all the time on the island, and they just didn't include it in the edit.
Of course he did.
I don't know. Apparently, they're still friends, and he's still. I think married.
They are definitely still friends.
Yeah. I
hope they get on a returning season together because they definitely work together again.
Oh yeah, and he's great. He's awesome. I love it. And I was really surprised that Mike White got second place. That I did not expect him to make it that far. I was like, this dude
so well.
He did really well. Didn't win obviously, but
basically like all of the people at the end of the jury, because it was a big jury, and like the last 4 people voted out all voted for Mike. So it's kind of like if it was a smaller jury, Mike probably would have won, which is interesting.
All right, that's our Survivor talk.
Shout out Hayden for listening to this. Nobody else did.
We'll have some other check-ins as whenever we get Survivor 43, we'll talk about it, and then I'll check in as I watch seasons as well. So,
hell yeah!
All right, peace.
Good episode. Stay capping.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.